Hello and welcome to this issue of episode of Point Counterpoint. I'm back after a gap of about 2 months. Good to be back amongst uh, friends, activists, lawyers, and political entities for a debate of this nature. The subject we have at hand is something that has not just cropped up of late, but has been hovering around in our judicial system and criminal system for a very long time. Essentially, this is about how the law and the long arm of the law extends itself into areas where the equation between truth and justice and injustice and harassment gets completely skewed. Of late, there have been several instances across Goa where people, mainly activists and even others, who are essentially fighting for people's issues, whether it be the double tracking in South Goa or the issue of farmers in Pisurle and so on and so forth. There have been several instances where one feels that the retaliation from the state has been disproportionate to the people's cause and the reasons why people have taken to the streets. Now these are facts, and these need to be also kind of debated, because the people who have been who feel they are victimized feel that the state has been overtly coercive in bringing down people's protests. But the state itself obviously has its own reasons and says that the law has been used judiciously to quell any kind of anti activities that are beyond the purview of law. That has also happened. So, but the reason which was probably a catalyst because of which we are all here is one person who seems to have been at the receiving end of the law for the last 1.5 years or 2 years, and his name is Hanuman Parab. He's here with us. Now, Hanuman Parab is a farmer's activist. He is a farmer himself who has essentially done nothing but tried to protect the farmlands of Pisurle from mining dust and mining rejects, and to ensure that the trucks don't pass illegally through the farms and fields. That's been his basic, one of his most intrinsic forms of activism. 1.5 years ago, he was thrashed brutally in the premises of the Valpoi police station, where in his own complaint, he has said that the PI and the DYSP involved were there. He has knocked various doors, including the offices of the Prime Minister and the President of the country. And so he has left no stone unturned. He's gone to various commissions. He's gone to the Human Rights Commission, the Police Complaints Authority, and so on and so forth. So he's kind of going on knocking. Of late, very recently, he was apparently summoned just before the G20 meeting started, and according to him again, was confronted that time by the police, who said that we are putting you on a history sheet because of your criminal activity. But the notices that were sent were under section 149, so there were no history sheet notices, of course. But this is one background. But we have a panel here. We will look into different aspects. We'll go deep into this whole issue of history sheet and whether Goa police can actually put somebody on it or not. But we'll also discuss the overall issue of whether activism or people's activism in the state is getting increasingly stonewalled by legal authorities or police authorities, who are probably kind of stretching the long arm of the law to quell dissent in a manner which is not acceptable. This is what the people feel. We of course have a very, very good list of panelists who will delve deep into all these issues, primarily because of their professional expertise and the fact that they have all been in positions where they can comment on these things with a fair degree of authority. Alex RASQUINHA is a retired SP of the Goa Police. Thank you, sir, for being here, and he, I'm sure, will have a lot to say on this. Caroline Colasso, advocate, criminal and human rights lawyer, outspoken and fiery, and of course has worked with a lot of people who need justice. Then, of course, Hanuman Parab, who we mentioned earlier, probably the man of the moment, but currently under a lot of pressure and flack from the establishment. But he's a fighter and he's continuing to fight. Trajan de Mello needs no introduction. Well, we can call him a political advisor. He wears many hats, and of course he's the president of his organization, Pointcounterpoint. So welcome Trajan Bab once again. And last but not the least, very welcome Premanand Mamrebab, who was a spokesman of the BJP till late, but continues to hold several important positions in the party, and very well represented, and we are glad that you are here. I'll start with Alex Rasquinha. If you could just begin by just responding a little bit to what I said. I don't have a specific question, but if you could just respond to my opening.
See, the main one of the main problem you have said, history sheet. Here what happened, most of the people or these on our panel also will not know the real meaning of history sheet. What is history sheet and what is the motive of history sheet? I have been working in this department from 1963 till 2000. So we have dealt with history sheet right from 1963 to 2000 with history sheet. What is history sheet? History sheet is a record or a sheet maintained at the police station of active property criminals.
Property criminals?
Yes.
Okay.
Property criminals, and the police officer of that station mostly means you can say 99% during the night round he has to supervise them whether they are at their house or not.
Right.
This was the main thing. Main motive of opening the history sheet to keep the watch on that particular criminal in property offences. This is the.
Okay, so from then to now, how has it moved? In the sense that right now, see, if you look at in Bombay, most of the top criminals and people who worked in different gangs, they're all called history sheeters for the criminal activities.
Correct.
So it moved from property activities to criminal activities. So
correct.
The thing is, right now, why would say Hanuman Parab be called a history sheeter? Because he's not committed any property offense.
What I read in the newspapers and what I hear now, what has happened now? The ruling party politicians many times make use of this government machinery for this purpose. Yeah, so whatever be the purpose, my issue is I'm on the point of law. I'm not on the point of, we will come to politics later. Of course, there are politicians who will get into the political part of it. Right now, I'm only on the subject of law. Now, point of law, you said, she will be able to tell better as she
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, see, at the end of the day, as you said, a person is put on a history sheet if he has committed property offences. In your long career as a police officer, you must have come across many cases where people who have not committed property offences but are either criminals, petty criminals, major criminals, or
gang wars,
who have been put under this history sheet, correct?
Yes.
Now, is that legal?
Now, whether it is legal or not illegal, my friend will be able to.
Okay, I'll go to Caroline. Caroline, why don't you just take over from where I left off and respond?
Yeah, so the question is, first and foremost, can there be a concept of a history sheet in Goa where it would have to have some backing as a force of law? Now, the entire CRPC doesn't have anything of this concept, so they would have to go to the police manuals.
Right.
So now the police.
Okay, so very important point you just said for our viewers also. The CRPC has no provision for history sheet.
No provision for history sheet.
Okay.
So if you go to the police manual, that is backing up even from the report in the Herald, which carried when the whole concept of Hanuman Parab came about.
That's correct.
That there is no this thing in the Goa police manual. It perhaps is there in Bombay, and I've seen a lot of other police manuals of various other states. They have this concept.
Right.
It comes from an old colonial, obviously, remnant that remained, where people would they would rightly perhaps at that time even justified, where the job of the police is largely to keep and maintain peace, peace and harmony. So if there is a group of people, whatever, who is constantly committing what they would defray, or they would disturbance or breach of peace, and very broad terms, etc., it would be perhaps justified at the police job to keep peace. This is a bunch of people that has in somehow creating public nuisance or disturbing public peace, and therefore they can put them under what would be called kind of a surveillance, police surveillance. So under that it would be perhaps justified. But first and foremost, so in Goa, it is not, there is the police manual, is not there, and therefore just lifting a concept from Bombay does not give them, it is not justified to use.
Because for your information, as far as my knowledge, we are following the Bombay Police Manual. That is Bombay Police Manual, that is Maharashtra Police Manual is known as Bombay Police Manual.
The Bombay
We
police.
are actually
And
not
even-
following. We are supposed to follow.
Supposed to
No, we are
follow,
supposed
but we
to
don't
follow.
have our own.
And even the Act now, Police Act, we are following Delhi Police Act.
Right.
We don't have our Act.
Correct.
But
So,
now we are liberated 60 years back. Till today, the government has not enacted.
so
this.
there's no legal backing for creating something called a history sheet.
Right.
So I mean, either in the law or even if you say a borrowed concept. The second thing is, if you look at how the concept of this history sheet has been dealt with by various courts over the country, they have inevitably, they've not said it cannot be done, as I said, because they're balancing public peace vis-a-vis, like the police job. However, they've in numerous judgments said it is always open to to arbitrariness, because there is no proper definition of what exactly would be considered a history sheeter. Is it a person who is convicted? Is it a person who just has an FIR against him? Now, in a case like, say, Hanuman, for example, he is, let's assume, has got even 5 cases against him. What one would have to see, is he a troublemaker? Is he creating breach of peace all over the state of Goa?
Correct.
His fight is limited, or this thing, to mining protests largely, which is a very justified protest in his village for whatever. He's not creating it all over Goa, that he needs to be contained because of some G20. So open to always arbitrariness, to a lot of what do you call it, nebulous area where the police can then, it's totally against our constitutional rights. It is, I would say, clearly against the law.
The word arbitrariness has been used by courts as well.
Plenty
in
of
judgments,
times, yes.
Yeah.
With regard to
With
vis-a-vis
regard to
history.
history
Right.
sheets.
I'll just draw everybody's attention to a few judgments. You see, there's this one Gajendra Singh versus State of Goa. Okay, there. Now this judgment was relied upon in the CS Ajju versus State of Goa case. Okay, but in that case, in the order, they relied on the Gajendra Singh order. In which this court, after placing reliance on the decision of the Honorable Supreme Court in the case of K.S. Puttaswamy and others versus Union of India, has held that it was not open for the respondent police authority to open any history sheet, since the provisions of the Bombay Police Manual are not adopted in the state of Goa.
Yes.
This is the
One clarification
Yes.
that I would like
Yes,
to do,
Premanand.
because there is no mention of history sheet in the letter sent to.
correct. I'll come to
I
that.
think.
That
So what is that section that has been
correct.
applied?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's section
Because
149.
unless we know what it is.
Yes,
nobody
Premanand.
know.
I've devoted
We will not be able
I've
to-
devoted one section to discuss this section only.
Ah.
I'll come to that, because there is a very clear division
used the
between
word
section
history sheet.
149 of the CRPC used and the history sheet. I'll
Yes,
come
they've
to that.
used it in the letter to him.
Yeah, I'll come to that. I'll come to that. Right. Okay. So that is one. Secondly, so if you look at Gajendra Singh versus State of Goa,
Yes.
even in that judgment they relied on Puttaswamy versus Union of
Yes.
India. And that's AIR 1963 SC 1295.
Yes,
Hell,
that's the main one which is always relied on in all other courts also.
Puttaswamy versus Union of India. Okay. There it is said that it was not open for the respondent police authority to open any history sheet, since the provision of the Bombay Police Manual are not adopted in the state of Goa. That's point 1. Point 2, in this Ajju case, the public prosecutor did not dispute this. He admitted that this is the case. So, but there, Mr. Revankar, who was the public PP, he said that the matter about adoption of the provisions of the Bombay Police Manual is under consideration of the government. This was in the year 2017. We are in the year 2023. This under consideration status has not changed since then. Okay. Now the final order of the court was, be that as it may, this was Nutan Sardesai and C.V. Badang's judgment. It says, be that as it may, in the absence of the provision authorizing the respondents to open such history sheet, the impunged communication dated 13/6/2017 cannot be sustained. There was a communication basically putting C.S. Ajju under the history sheet and asking him to give his
Yes.
fingerprint and so on and so forth. So that notification was not allowed, because there was no Bombay
no
Police Manual
extension.
to rely upon. Now, coming to responding to what Premanand Bhav has just said, I'll just mention what I know, but do correct me if I am wrong or elaborate on that. To the best of my knowledge, he got a notice under section 149 of CRPC. That is not a history sheet notification, under 149. And Premanand, you can respond to this. After you responded, you got that notice on the 12th of April, asking you to be present on the 13th of April.
Right.
You could not appear on 13th of April, you went on the 14th of April.
No, I went.
You went on the 13th of
13
April.
on.
Okay, so these are the dates.
Yeah.
So when you went on the 13th of April, what were you told? That
No, I went to the PI.
Yes.
I met him
Right.
and asked him why you called me under this.
Right.
So that time he told me that we book you under history sitter. So you are in the history sitter list, and also probably you have to be our policeman has to go to your house to see you in 15 days.
Right.
This was told by PI.
Okay.
Then I told him, I am not a criminal. I have not done anything. Why you are this harassing me? Because he is the same person who beated me in the police station.
Police station. Okay.
So
the
I
same PI.
same PI Prajot Fatte
Right.
along with the DYSP
Right.
on 11th March.
Right.
So I don't have 1 year. I don't have any communication. But
Right.
when I received this letter, then only I talked with him. Because now the matter is before SPCA. I have filed complaint.
Right. Right.
Earlier we had gone to Honorable
Okay.
High Court.
Okay, I'll just take Caroline's view on this. Caroline, what do you make of this when the notice goes under section 149 and he comes and he's told that he is under the
But
history
I
sheet?
think your letter, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't his letter also state the word history
No,
sheet?
no. I've
It
got a
doesn't
copy of
say
the
that
letter.
all right. I
It's
think
in
I'd,
some way.
I'd
I have
No,
the
see-
but I have asked under, I have made a letter and asking that order.
Right.
When he told that you
Right.
are under history sitter, so I apply for that order before the PI.
Have you got it?
No, now almost 12 days passed, but
Right.
he has not sent any message,
Right.
nothing has given. Because when the officer is saying that you are under list, I told him, give me the list.
Right.
That time he was reading that
Right.
order in
Right.
front of me in opening file.
Right.
I told me, give me the list. So
Right.
he said, you apply in under RTI. I told him why I should go under RTI, because it is my documents which you are saying that you are under list. So give me the details.
Can I just read out the notice that he got? See, this was a notice sent to him on 12/9.
Yes,
Okay.
it's-
It says notice under section 149 of the CRPC.
Yes.
It says you are requested to remain present at the Valpoi police station on 13/4 at 1100 hours, as there is reasonable apprehension that you may indulge in criminal activities and commit a cognizable offence during the forthcoming visit of VVIPs in the G20 summit in Goa. You are therefore being issued notice in accordance with 149 of CRPC, requesting you to desist from getting involved in cognizable offences. In the event of failure on your part, action will be initiated you as per law.
So
What is
basically,
149?
yeah. So basically,
what is
141. The entire, actually, the main section that is applicable is 151.
Okay.
So it's a 151 which people call a chapter case or a preventive case.
Correct.
Now,
section
what is
149?
149?
No, so but 149 is a precursor to 151, wherein the 151 gives the police. Others normally, it's only on the basis of a complaint. And anyone has lodges a complaint where they makes out a cognizable offence, police have got the powers to arrest. That is starting from 154 CRPC onwards. However, this is one section in that entire chapter of basically breach of anyone can commit breach of peace, where if the police have from its own knowledge or apprehension that somebody is going to commit
Correct.
a cognizable offence, they can arrest them directly also under 151.
Correct.
Under 149, prior to actual arrest, they can give them notice.
Right.
That is what they've done, is giving,
Correct.
saying we apprehend.
See, there is nothing illegal about this notice
There's
or he
nothing-
being called.
Ho-
Correct.
However,
Right,
there have been notices like this given earlier even to activists, and the courts have held that even when you're giving you have to have a apprehension, and that apprehension has to be a reasonable apprehension.
Okay.
You have to have you cannot just say tomorrow issue me a notice and say I have an apprehension. Give me the basis.
Right.
Like what has he done in the last few days that give the police the reasonable apprehension that he is going to commit a
Right.
cognizable offence?
Right.
Just because he did one year back, is there a history now in all these years? Is he a kind of person that is doing this type of things all over Goa, and therefore at the G20 he is likely to
Commit any offences.
So there has to be a basis, and the same type of a section actually was used, if you remember, against the anti-Mole activists.
Right.
And it was challenged effectively in court, and they've said that when a person even issues them a 149 notice or arrest even under 151, even the magistrate who's ultimately, it's before the deputy collector, it's before the Mamladar, cannot just say, I'm arresting you under 151. 151 is the one which you have to be released within 24 hours. You just give a bond of peace. The entire case gets over in 6 months. So it's not like a criminal case. Within 6 months, the whole case is over. However, they've held, courts have held, give them a reasonable reason. It has to be a proper inquiry. You have to have basis on the which you've given him
Do you
this
remember
one.
any judgment that you may have probably
Captain Viriato's judgment when he was arrested was challenged by in of course Sessions Court, and the court has held that that notice is illegal, and a very detailed judgments where Captain Viriato and some other person during on the 19th December arrest just picked up under one in this guise that they will create an some breach of peace. Breach of peace is broad. But give the reasons. They said, no, you cannot just do this type of thing. His was one recent one, but there are plenty like this.
Okay.
Reasonable apprehension. Give a study, give a record. There's absolutely illegal kind of a notice because there's nothing in the history to show that in recent times he could create a
No,
threat.
but are you saying then verbally telling him that we are putting you under history sheet that has no legal basis? Where they
Well,
are-
no, obviously not. Because, I mean, there has to be a legal background or a concept or a law or a section for them to say that you're putting on. If there is no backup from the police manual, nothing in the CRPC, there is no concept of a history sheet. This is just trying to browbeat and threaten.
Okay, before I go to Premanand, but Prajan, you've heard all of us from the legal point of view and the political point of view. How do you see this panning out, and why is this happening?
All we have discussed, we are hearing the legal side of it.
Right.
I would like to tell you the political side of it.
That's why you're here.
The political side of it, like consecutive governments,
Yes.
the right to use power includes the right to misuse power. That is the concept of every government. I'm not talking of this government, any government. Now you have done it in that quantity, I have done it in bigger quantity, that's another part of it. As advocate was saying, it's illegal, it's illegal, it's illegal. What have the courts done about it? Is there any deterrent order?
Courts have passed
No,
judgments.
courts have-
No, 1 minute. I'm coming further. Passing judgment has no effect to it.
Right.
My question, is there any deterrent judgment that the police will have to take 10 times?
That if you misuse it, this happens.
Yes.
Correct. Yes. It's true.
Not there on record. Police have done, even if you see custody deaths, nothing has happened.
That's true, but you must pray. See, the court will not go beyond what is your prayer.
No,
you
1
prayed
minute, 1
for
minute.
quashing, the court will
I'm
quash.
coming to it. The courts only say it is not jail, but it should be bail. Where it is happening? My question is, unless the courts, see, you pass an order, and I'll tell you. For example, the court pass an order, arrest Raskin, arrest Kerala, and arrest Parab. Okay? Now, who is going to implement this? The police. Raskin, you approach him, he gives you 50 rupees, that fellow goes, is not available. Kerala is not able to pay, she's picked up, she's taken inside. Now, when all these things are happening blatantly, my considered opinion is the courts, in a present scenario, the way the police are behaving in so many cases, that there is no deterrent order in a single case to say that this man has to face the music. Because you are taught, it's a, now Hanuman Parab, it's a mental torture, nobody can pay it back. It's not just we are arguing that he's right and he's wrong and it is illegal. How did he get satisfied with it? His whole family is in trouble.
Yeah, that's
It's a total.
In fact, Judge
The
Nuttan,
honorable,
who is
lawyer-
passed this order, is now heading the Police Complaints Authority.
Now the,
Is it?
now
Huh,
the
yeah, yeah.
honorable lawyer, she has
Along with
explained
the
very
Shukla is there,
nicely
no?
the meaning of
Retired DG.
the 149 and
Shukla is
151. The main section here is 151.
Right.
If you,
Chapter
if
case,
I
what do you
apprehend-
also call chapter case?
no,
Yeah,
151.
chapter,
If I apprehend he is making a breach of
Take him.
peace, I arrest him. I'm justified.
But you have to have a reasonable ground
Reasonable
for that.
ground.
Yeah, that
Okay.
I know.
You must be
give
able to
what she
answer
said.
that.
Reasonable. Ultimately, everything is happening unreasonable.
right.
You see, the courts are not here just to pass orders and see that there is no deterrent to it. It's not 1 and 2 cases. It's thousands of cases that is going on this way. Anybody is called,
I'll
anybody
get
is
Premanand
arrested.
Babu. He is patiently listening to all of us. Premanand Babu, see, the issue here is this is not about A government or B government, as Trajan Babu also said. The issue is that the system should be seen to be fair, be balanced, and not actively act against people who are considerably who are not strong enough to take on the system. You know, the issue is, if you see, most of the victims of police harassment, let's put it this way, are people who do not have the money power or the political power to fight back. The issue is, and they are the ones who are constantly facing cases. They need to go to police stations. They need to come back, and it happens across all governments. This is not specific to any one particular government. But don't you think that governments with a difference should take that lead in ensuring that there needs to be a fair approach towards how the police treats the common man, especially when it is very clear in most of these cases that the people who are facing the wrath of the police, mainly activists against people's projects, are not at all criminals. They are people's people who are on the streets fighting people's causes. This is a broad response I want.
And you have rightly said, you have rightly said, not A government or B government. It's there in every government.
That's true.
Right, sir.
So that is why I would like to emphasize that my government or any, whether it is state government or central government, has no direct hand in this here. Why I say that, I will tell you. Since whenever such events are held, of G20 for example, there is a general order that the police department has to maintain peace and all that. See that the peace is not disturbed.
Okay.
Now when these general guidelines go,
Right.
there may be some police officers who are over enthusiastic, You see, they must be able to make their own judgment
Right.
what to do and what not to do.
Right.
If somebody has a hair to grind, they have got their own hair to grind, they will make use of this order to harass some people. You cannot blame the government in that.
Yeah,
But
rightly said.
I would say
Therefore, a
that
deterrent
I am
judgment should be
saying
there.
right from the top officer of the state, police officer, till the last man in the police department should have to use their judgment very objectively, not to harass people, because ultimately they have got two jobs.
One question.
One job is to maintain peace, yes, that they have to do. But while maintaining peace, they should see that no is harassed, no person is harassed. They have to do their duty. They have to balance these two things.
Sure.
If they try to grind their own eggs, because of some past happening, then this type of things happen.
Okay.
I fully agree with you 101%.
So one question.
Because I have faced also this type of harassment.
Remember, I'll just
You
respond
are
to
very
this.
correct.
I have been a ruling politician. I have been an opposition politician also. I have myself faced this type
These
of
cases.
in the past. That is why I am telling you in your experience.
Remember,
that
excellent
it
answer.
becomes a
Excellent
over
answer.
enthusiasm
Remember,
of the police
excellent
officer.
answer. I have one question to your answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at Hanuman Parab's case, okay, I completely agree that the police misused its powers and they had an axe to grind, in your own words, and went after him.
And he has rightly said,
This has happened.
over enthusiasm.
This has happened on the 13th of April. We are at the end of April. 2 weeks have passed. 2 to 3 weeks have already passed. Obviously, the PI is not the final authority in the police system. He has a DYSP who, unfortunately, is a part of the problem, not the solution.
Yeah.
He's been the part of a problem for a very long time, because both of them have an axe to grind against him, because he's filed complaints against them. Okay. Now, when this is in public domain, when Herald has reported it, everybody has taken cognizance of it, and there is a superintendent of police in that district. The SP is completely aware of this happened, and he should have used. Don't you think he should have used his own judgment on the matter when he knows that his subordinates have done something which is fundamentally wrong? Number one.
Correct.
The SP reports to the IG reports to the DGP reports to the Home Minister, and this is the chain of command. My point is that when your subordinate officers, when it is absolutely clear that they are behaving in a manner which is not known to law, and you misusing the law to harass the common man because of very obvious problems that they have with the person earlier, don't you think in 2 weeks' time the least that should have been done is to have seen that, look, let this harassment stop, let this notice be withdrawn? My point is, why couldn't the system act?
We are at the moment, I think we are not aware of what is going on
Premanand,
behind the
this up to now I was agreeing with you.
Yeah.
On this point
But-
I'm unable to agree with you, because how
so
can you
we
say?
cannot comment
Because how
what
can-
is going
I
on,
will
what has
comment.
been here.
As Advocate Carroll correct said, these acts are meant to maintain peace.
Right.
That is being acted upon activists is disturbing the peace of the government. It is exposing them. It is showing how they are trying to destroy they themselves are trying to destroy the peace, and those who are trying to stop that destruction are being what you call charged for disturbing the peace of the government, not of the people.
I think it's too trite also to just pass it off as something being an over-enthusiastic police, because that would have been then a case of an isolated police station in a case of this case of Hanuman Parab. But I think the broader question is, as you had rightly started in your introduction, is that the repeated use of excesses and police force against activists who are basically not criminals.
Right.
So what happens to the basic right to dissent? What has happened to the right to protest? What has happened to the right to assemble peaceably? All of these rights which are guaranteed in the constitution are given a complete go by. I mean, earlier in all these years, and if we can see it repeatedly and much more now, then there is something that one has to say of the times.
Correct.
It's not that, you know, like whatever you say, this
And
government
this is responsibility falls to the government.
Yes, I will
Because
just,
without government direction, this cannot happen.
I'll quote,
And go on happening. It's not one case, isolated case. This is what I'm trying to say.
I'll just quote two incidents which everybody knows, but you know, for our viewers to be refreshed, and then I'll get back to Mr. RASQUINHA to talk about the olden days and how you all used to handle activists and student movements, because I have a few beautiful anecdotes about how you used to function, which I'm going to share. Okay, one interesting point here is, we will just refer to two cases. One is, if you recall, on the midnight of November 1st, 2020 at Shandor, a large number of not only just activists but people from all over Goa had gathered against the double tracking that was supposed to take place there.
Yes.
And interestingly, in that particular gathering, there were people from all walks of life. I myself happened to be there, and there were people, children from the ages of 10
I was there too.
to I mean, many. Most right-thinking people would have been there in some form or the other, either spiritually or physically. So there were children from the ages of 10 to seniors in the range of 80-85. Yes. I've seen people on wheelchairs, on walking sticks, and I've seen absolute kids there. There were politicians from all walks of life there, including many of them who happen to be in the BJP right now. Okay, there were politicians from the opposition. There were other people. There were people from all walks of life, and it was a very, very big peaceful event. It was happening at a space where the collector had already announced a road closure there. So there was no public disturbance happening. At about 8:39, there were no trains being blocked. Everybody sat on the railway track in a symbolic protest with candlelit. 2 days later or 3 days later, on 5th of November, certain activists were selectively targeted and criminal cases were lodged against them. Abhijit Prabhudesai of Rainbow Warriors was one of them, and there were others also. Now they were booked for forming unlawful assembly under section 143 and 147 IPC. Now, if there are almost 5,000 people gathered there, why would they pick up 3 people and book them under unlawful assembly? And when you book them, and those cases are still going on, they're still going to police stations again and again and again.
They've also been booked in the
Velsau case also, I'm coming to that. See, on Velsau and ROC, they've registered cases against Olencio Simoes, Olvil Dorado Rodriguez, Francis Braganza and Camilo D'Souza in one of the cases. This is in the JCB cases for purportedly damaging JCBs when the protests were going on. That is one. And maybe there's one more case which you're referring to, which is again double tracking.
Yes.
Where Abhijit has been booked. Maybe you're referring to some other case.
Yes, no, the double tracking one.
Double tracking?
Where they did it on 18th of December, yes.
So that is another case.
Yes.
So the reason why we are highlighting these cases is primarily to say that, to quote Premanand himself, that it is not one over-enthusiastic policeman connected to responding to a G20 notice in Valpoi. There are so many enthusiastic policemen in different police stations.
The Mole agitation, so many were picked
this
up.
is a different matter. The state is doing some work which is legitimate. And if you disturb that, is becoming disturbance.
Of the government.
No.
It's a disturbance.
Agreed.
You see, anything which is done legitimately,
Correct.
and that somebody tries to disturb, is a disturbance in the...
Fair enough.
What is wrong in it?
No, there's nothing wrong. What is wrong is
Selectively
that
choosing
if there are
those.
5,000 people gathered there,
You cannot charge all 5,000.
No,
Police will always charge those who are leaders, who are
but
instigating.
but the point
You
is
see,
to
you
figure
see
out
the outlook of the police also. You cannot charge 5,000 people. you are going to charge those who are instigating this process.
No. So the
See,
idea.
this is the
So the point is this is selective targeting.
no, I wouldn't
Politicians
say
were there,
that
yes.
because unless those who
Premanand,
instigate
see, you have been a political leader, activist. You fought against governments and so on and so forth.
No, he has, as he has rightly said, I fully agree with him. They have selected the leaders.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
no, this is selective targeting. Okay, now we'll get into that later.
there is a see
My point is,
whether it is legitimate or illegitimate is a
do the people
issue
of
which has
one
been
clear
decided.
question: do the people
See,
of Goa have the right to peaceful protest or not?
Yes.
certainly they have been allowed to do protest.
That is exactly. So if they are doing peaceful protests and they were
Yeah.
not disturbing any peace
But
there, why were
if-
they picked up?
See, if a certain legitimate work is allowed to be continued, if it has to be continued, then you have to stop the disturbances.
They did not stop. They did not stop
See,
the double tracking
correct.
work.
They didn't
They
stop the work.
protested against the double tracking.
Tracking.
They
There-
did not.
there was no work going
They
on.
did not stop
And
there
coal,
and
and the fact
coal
that,
and the
yes,
movement of coal.
coal.
It was a people's protest against the
if
rampant
you
expansion
see-
of coal transportation. It was not. They did not sit on the tracks and say we will not let the
Yes,
tracks.
and it's also
the- on the-
after
on the-
representation.
Yes.
We have the activists have not gone first time and had a protest. They've gone to court. They've made representations to various authorities.
Correct.
They've explained why this massive increase in coal by MPT Goa is being only be used as a transit
See,
point, as a
Mahamabare,
hub.
See,
argument-
So it's only
this
at
is
the
a disputed hearing, you know.
No, I'm not saying what I'm
See,
saying is
that
they've knocked
protest
on
what was
every
there
We
door.
cannot
night.
always judge that what the activists do and all is correct. You
no,
cannot
No,
judge.
let the
You
activists-
or I cannot
let the
judge.
I'm not
okay,
saying
let the
there are two
activists be
different
completely-
points of view.
Premanand, let the
See.
activists be completely
Wrong, but it's their
my
point of-
point is that still does not take away the right of the common people to protest
protest.
against
Yeah,
injustice.
nobody
And
takes
protesting
away.
without
Protest is
without
going
obstructing
on.
anything.
Correct.
Protests are going on.
Yeah,
Sir,
sir.
who
Sir,
is,
we
who is
were also
preventing?
protesting.
Nobody is preventing.
10th
But
March.
the aftermath of the protest, there should be no disturbance
This
of
is
peace.
only
That
There was no
recent.
disturbance
work
of peace.
should go on. That is, see,
Nobody
ultimately
stopped
Not in
what
the
what
night.
happens.
This was a night
See,
protest.
ultimately
And
what?
not
The
obstructing any work.
state wants the work to go on.
Right.
What is the machinery they are going to use so that the work should go on peacefully? It is the police.
But the work was
Okay.
never stopped.
Yeah, that is the point. You are not getting over that.
In Chandor, the
No,
work was
no,
never
but
stopped.
they might be thinking that if we allow this
Might.
type of protest,
You
to be,
can't
the work
think
Okay,
They-
fair
they-
enough.
they-
We'll move on.
Effort.
We've taken your
There are
point.
disputes on
Okay,
that,
okay,
you
okay.
know.
We've taken your point.
What
Now,
is
Prabha-
right and
Okay, we've taken your point. Now,
Sir, our farmers were protesting peacefully last year at a site. We have given enough memorandum to the deputy collector, Mamledar, also PR. And there was an order from the court because I have filed MC application in court, and then in 2020 there was another petition to release water to deseal our paddy field,
Right.
and give compensation to the our paddy which is destroyed because of mining. And when the e-auction war was going on, so after 8 days we had given enough time, and we met everyone, including chief minister, we met and we told them, all farmers, these are the case. So what he told chief minister, you go and meet a deputy collector, he will arrange meeting and your problem will be solved. So our issue is just we were facing till now we are facing drinking water issue, but then after they beat it inside the police station, this was just harassment, and our protest was to demolish and allow the e-auction war to carry out.
Right.
Which was then we have Dr. Claude, we requested, and then he filed petition before High Court, and High Court has stopped all the e-auction war because
Right.
it was illegal.
Right.
And then till date that owner, those who have digged the ore, they have not booked.
Right.
Because now they are we are the farmers, they have destroyed our agriculture, destroyed our water, everything, and they are punishing us by putting in our criminals 2 cases filed same day by the police, and they are now listing, and that was High Court has totally given
Held that it was
it
illegal.
was illegal, and SIT is put on that, but government is not coming with the SIT. What is there? 12 years you are sitting with the SIT of same man, which is illegal, and government is allowing that transportation without giving any relief
So
to
what
the
do the
farmers.
people do? The people have no other option. Like Melauli, Malawli, the women were there day in and day out, sitting there in protest.
This is the IIT one.
Yeah,
This is the IIT. They wrote letters to even to the Gram Sabha. Please explain what is this IIT about? How will we gain? The Gram Sabha demanded that we want to know. They've written to every possible authority, explained to us what this project is about. No response, complete stonewalling, complete silence. So they continued the protest, and then one day they just come and they decide to do this, assault them, run over them, etc. Now they're still facing an FIR. All of them, some 40 of them arrested, facing with serious charges,
Even
including, of course, 307 attempt to murder case is put against them. We had to get them all on anticipatory bail first.
Are you representing some of them?
I'm representing all of them. We filed for quashing in the high court.
Right.
But because you see 307, look at the section they put, attempt to murder. They were sitting there, poor old women.
Trial has not started also.
Trial is not started.
And
Charge
it
sheet is
non-bailable it is.
Charge sheet
charge
filed?
is just filed, yes. Charge sheet has been filed. The trial will start. 40 of them would have to go up and down to court. Look at the mining activists.
And these are
I'm
elderly
referring-
women.
Yes.
Many of them.
Many of them very elderly. The only thing they were doing is, is tell us what will be the benefits, how much is the area, what exactly is going to happen there. And the second thing is, this is the only source of livelihood. We don't want to lose it, so please tell us a little bit about it.
Is this fair?
Unless
What
I
Advocate
study all
Caroline said, is
but
this fair?
One thing is that it is a government led, if I am correct. And these are probably encroachers on the government led.
So be it. 307.
Huh?
307 for encroaching.
No. See, that was after the protest. Earlier when it was to be used for,
but
there is no protest
No, but
took up there.
elderly ladies attempted to murder
I am
people.
not saying that it is just justified. Those people who are, they are supporting their life on that, they should be compensated somewhere by giving allotting land. And that was also proposed, that they will be allotted land elsewhere so that they can cultivate
Serious criminal cases against elderly women.
See, what happened here was
40 of them.
there were so many other interruptions. People activists from other places came and instigated them.
No instigated,
See,
it was only to give them
Okay,
information.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
Government
Activists-
would
okay,
have
I take your
certainly
point.
given them a package.
Activists, activists instigated.
There was
them.
activist entry
Okay,
from other
accepted.
places in here
Activists
and they instigated them.
Activists
Yeah,
came and
that is
instigated
what has
them.
happened,
But
Okay,
now suppose I am suppose I am an
See,
elderly
I
person.
don't dispute. You say I am with
Suppose
you
I am an elderly
on
person.
compensating them, giving them alternate land.
No, but my issue is, are you with Caroline when she says that elderly women have been completely harassed and there are charges of attempt to murder against them? Now, if an activist comes and instigates them, do you have to slap
You
307
see,
against them?
as per police reports, they were even carrying weapons.
Who, these elderly women?
See,
They
who
were carrying
sitting
weapons.
there,
What weapons were they carrying?
koitas and other things,
No, but
So
my-
we don't
no,
know
no,
exactly what has
see,
happened there on that day.
My point is,
we don't know.
Anyway,
Because it is
I'm
the
not-
police.
I'm
See,
not getting into the
see,
legal part
it
of
is
it.
the police
But
and those who have witnessed it properly will be able to do. We cannot comment here. They may be right, all that. I am fully with you. Even as representing the government,
an elderly
I am
farmer
fully
lady
at-
carrying a koita
they will
becomes an
be-
attempted murderer.
They will be, because they were instigated other
In
people.
our case also,
See,
75 to 80 age.
They would have been
people
given
have
a
been booked by
package. It
this
was
police in
offered
our
to them.
case. 7 of them.
Now that
we are
prayer
facing
is
trial.
stopped, we don't have to comment on that.
No, but this is clearly an attempt to,
Right.
It is to silence the voice.
silence the voice of
Totally.
these
No, these are important anecdotes.
Let
on
us
record and we
destroy
get
war,
glad-
you don't interfere.
Correct.
We
Now-
are here to rule and misrule.
No,
And
for
you know
people-
how long cases go on,
Of
like
course.
so people from say Abhijit and all going all the way to Vasco court if it's Velsau, and remember to keep those dates. If you do not go, you get a bailable warrant against you. It's in addition to these things, and those
So
cases
that is
if
the
they're-
only way to.
No,
to-
and
This
the point
gets-
is
it's
that
very-
their lives are completely at a stand. They cannot travel,
Yes.
they cannot go anywhere.
This is not called
These are
prosecution.
the-
This is called persecution.
Correct. Okay. For viewers who probably do not completely know what Hanuman Parab has gone through, I'll just narrate very briefly about his case and why we are talking. I will end shortly. See, on 11th of March 2022, he was leading a protest by Pistorle farmers against the transportation and dumping of iron ore on their fields, and he was brutally beaten up at the Valpoi police station along with a few others, I think. Right.
They were present, sir.
Present.
In their presence,
You were beaten up.
Yeah.
On March 16, Parab filed a criminal complaint against the Deputy Superintendent of Police, Sagar Ekoskar, and the PI Prajot Fatte for unprovoked assault and violence against him. For nearly a month, the complaint was not registered. I don't think it's still registered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not registered.
Then he approached the High Court, praying for registering the offence in the assault matter. What did the High Court say?
High Court then told on government say there was SPCA, the police authority.
On 28th of August 2022, High Court directed him to file a complaint before the SPCA.
Right.
Okay. In the police brutality matter. Now, what happened after you filed in the SPCA?
So the matter is going on at SPCA court.
Okay.
But
No
my
relief.
yeah, no relief.
Yeah, before you answer, I would also like to say, he approached the President of India and he approached the Prime Minister's office. There were directions or a letter being sent from there was a letter sent from the PMO to the Chief Secretary, and I think from the President of India to the Governor, if I am not mistaken. Basically, telling them or directing them or requesting them to take this matter up seriously. Post
The
which
inquiry was conducted, sir.
based on that.
Oh yeah, on that home department.
Yes.
But no action till date.
Right.
Inquiry, we don't know what has happened.
Okay.
SP
Fair
South was the officer was
Right.
appointed to
Right.
and that inquiry all happened in North Goa,
Right.
and we have to go to the Margao for the giving statement.
How many
and,
times have you all gone there?
I had gone 5 times.
And the inquiry is still going on?
Yeah, no, it was finished, and other farmers they were there. They were.
So
put
what
as
was
a
the
witness.
result of the inquiry?
No, we don't know, no, sir. That is the
Ah,
main.
you're still in the dark about
Yeah,
it.
we don't know. That's why we didn't get any justice.
Right, right,
Because these letters coming from Prime Minister and President are just formalities.
right, right.
There's no nothing, it's just to show.
Correct.
And the Prime Minister has acted.
Correct, correct.
And there's some solace for Hanuman Parab.
correct.
The Prime Minister has responded to my letter.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes
Practically
left, and I
nothing
think we just get into another aspect of this whole discussion without which it will not be complete. See, the idea is beyond all this, the basic thing that we are trying to look at is the relationship between the state and its people. And the point is, there's one relationship between the state. See, the issue is if drug dealers, property robbers, land grabbers, people who grabbed so much of land all across Bardes and Bardes, Penne and Tiswadi talukas, if not a single land grabber is behind bars right now. There is an SIT inquiry going on. Charges are still yet to be filed. Nothing has happened.
No, they have gone in and come out.
Gone in and come out.
Unfair,
Okay.
yeah.
There are
So
there
they
are
were there for
there is
24
a full-fledged drug nexus that is working in this state all across.
Tremendous.
Okay. They have absolutely full protection of the powers that be, and
Yes.
including police stations where they get absolute sanrakshan, as they say in
They
Hindi.
cannot function at such a large scale.
My issue is, if the law was strong enough in those cases, as strong as it is towards people who are protesting for the people, maybe Goa would have been a safer place. But let us now quickly go back many years into Mr. RASQUINHA's time. See, what was the relationship that you all had with social activists? You know, when social activists were protesting and they had to be picked up, I remember you had a very gentle approach with many of them. I remember you giving calls to many of them and saying, what would you like to have for dinner? And basically pick them up and bring them to your police station, have a meal with them, look after them, and leave them nicely with all honor and friendship the next day.
Actually, because they were solving up my problem.
Right, exactly. So tell me those days, what was the relationship that you used to have with activists during those days?
See, what happened now, these activists, why are they doing this? For some cause, no?
Right,
Not for their gain.
right. Absolutely.
Not for their gain.
Correct.
They are doing for some cause. What is the cause? So we have to be
Sensitive to that.
Sensitive to that.
Right,
Especially for this activist.
right, right. Absolutely.
They are doing for a cause.
Right.
Not for his personal gain.
Correct. So you used to repeatedly pick them up, but be friendly with them.
And we used to ask their favor on the contrary.
Right,
To
right.
help us.
Correct, right.
And they were doing it.
And you were
most of
picking them up under 151.
And most of the activists, 100%, were helping us.
Right, right, right.
They're cooperating, you know.
Cooperate, correct.
We'll help you for this temporary moment, and that's it.
Right. So there was never any animosity
No,
against
nothing.
them.
The matter is over.
But didn't you get any pressure from the government to act strongly against them?
See, this pressure is there, as Mr. Mamre has
it is
said, in
there
every
every time.
government.
Right.
I was
worked for
picked up in somewhere in 1979. I spent one night at the instance of a politician.
Right.
Then
Right.
It has been there.
Empty government.
No, but I
Oh,
think there's a
empty
large
government.
difference during Mr.
Okay.
RASQUINHA's days. He will not remember, but I am a student activist and in a very strong
Absolutely.
student
No,
organization. which
Raskin has
did-
joined police force on merit.
in the time when there was a lot of
Today
This
everyone
was,
is
see,
Who was the
joining,
big-
so you have
pro-
to-
progressive
you have to
friends
recover.
with
Desmond
some
DeCosta, Desmond DeCosta and all
They
of
were
them.
my best
whenever
friends.
there is a political class, there
Even
is a
till today.
state,
I
there
can
is a
imagine. So we were
police
part of-
force, every time,
Their
whether it
family
is
function,
anyone's
I'm there.
government,
I
Right.
know.
Till
the
today.
pressure on the
That's because
police
you
Is a
were-
lot.
act is
Karen, you were
always
saying
there.
something.
Yes,
Sorry,
so I
we-
was saying
Whether it
that
is this,
Correct.
it was a very, in fact, we even called a de facto opposition looking
Not
at
the progressives that you-
the Progressive Students Union
Yes,
or various other
PSU.
organizations.
Yes.
And it's not that for lack of, that was also the time of complete a lot of issues, I mean turmoil in terms of whether the Konkani agitation, it was the meta strips, it was the Konkan railway, it
Bus
was the
concession.
bus concession, there were so many, and bus concession 50% and all were pretty violent
Correct.
in the sense. But
And
none
during this
of
time, the police never acted in a high-handed manner.
never
against
at all.
Okay.
I'm saying because I've been throughout these
What is the
far-
motive? They are doing for some
right
good
from
thing, no?
JGF and all these kind of agitations where they like had things against the charter tourists, etc. They did, but it was not this kind of this fear that even now, even if an activist puts you're scared to even put a post on Facebook or in any way side with any kind of a with a cause.
Yeah.
They immediately get
Yeah,
picked
Hanuman,
up.
2 minutes,
So-
then we'll end. Yeah. So you want to say
Sir,
something?
also I want from the government, if we are putting the activist in the some list, whether it is blacklist or in same way, the government should prepare the officers list, which are corrupt,
Correct.
which are honest.
History sheet of officers.
Why they are not making that?
Remember,
Home
kindly
Department?
take this suggestion.
Yeah, this is important because what is most of the officers are corrupt.
He can take
They
it
are,
only-
they
only
are
if
getting
he- if
bribes.
he's sold in now,
when,
in
when
the-
we are
the reshuffle.
when we are exposing them in the media,
Yeah.
so their hafta, they are in the dark. Their hafta going to be stopped.
Rajan, you've been in activism also. Just tell me a little bit about how those days were.
Actually, because that was the same days when he was the boss.
Correct.
Controlling things.
Correct.
As he has rightly said, he has joined on merits. He has been promoted on merits. That is not happening today. So you have to please the people who are in power. And all this is not happening without the blessing of the power or directions of the power. Simple as that. So those days and today is totally, absolutely, morality does not remain anymore. It is totally gone to the dogs. My question is that the government and Bab Mamre cannot absolve his responsibility by saying some enthusiastic officer is behaving. It's not enthusiastic officer. It is from north to south. Everybody is over enthusiastic to please the masters. And as I have said it, and I
purposeful.
Well, Mr. Trajan, I will correct you one
yes,
point.
please.
As Mr. Mamre has said, this is everywhere.
I said
this
it.
government or that government.
I said it consecutively. Only point is in what quantities it was done. How, like for example, let us take defection. It was started by all governments, everywhere.
Correct.
Today it has become very violent. Like he said, they were prepared to give them package. They are very used to giving packages to take everybody. You get what I'm trying to say? My question is very straightforward. The government cannot absolve its responsibilities. The government is fully behind this nonsense. Therefore, in the beginning I said, unless the courts come down with some deterrent thing, there won't be a change.
Prema,
I would say that
do you miss
nobody
the-
can be absolved
do you
of
miss the
responsibility.
do you miss the old
You
days
see, you
when
cannot
the
only
police was,
blame the government.
No, do you miss
know.
the olden days when
Government is by the people, for the people, and
Okay.
everywhere.
Do you miss
You
the-
see, you get the government, the people deserve. You see.
Okay, Prema,
Yeah,
one
he's
question.
saying
maybe the
One
people
question.
for
Let me
election-
ask.
Yeah, we
Okay,
have to
okay.
change the attitude.
Right.
Everybody has to change
Got
the
it,
attitude.
got
You
it, got
cannot just say,
Correct.
you are electing the people,
Do you
So-
miss the olden days when the police and activists were friendly, they cooperated? Do you
see,
miss those
I have
days?
also gone into
No, I'm asking, do you miss
preventive
those days?
detention at the time of agitations and all.
Do you miss those
they
days?
They used to help us, they
Correct.
would say that this is being
So they were
done
good
for
days.
this purpose, but you will be left on
Right.
bail.
Correct.
Sometimes, once I was put inside, and they said you have to take bail from the
Deputy
deputy collector.
Deputy collector.
But I convinced the PI that he can give us bail.
And he
And
gave
at
you.
early morning we were released on bail.
So do
And
you
that
have-
was just before the election was
Do
due
you have
next day.
do you have such PIs now in the system?
Yeah, the one who did it for me is now a SP.
Will he do the same thing now?
And he's a good friend of mine.
Will he do the same thing
You
now?
know,
He may do it to you, but will he do it? Will he do it to the common
Ultimately, I am
people?
telling you, by heart they may not be a. You
Right,
know,
right.
they have to do certain things at certain times. There may be pressures and you know, the system is like that.
Now, you talked of regime, no?
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you my own case. I worked for 36 years. I was transferred 40 times, including Daman and Diu.
Seriously? 40
Yes.
times?
36 years I fought 40 times.
After getting inducted into the IPS also?
No. In PI, in
That
PIG.
earlier.
Yes, 36
Who was
years
Daman
I
and
was
Diu was
transferred
there?
more than 40 times.
Right.
Including Daman Diu.
Right. Okay. 40 times, huh? 40 times in 36 years.
Yes. Including Daman Diu.
And he went
Okay.
everywhere. Now
Okay,
they will ask for a.
Okay, we've unfortunately run out of time, but I thank all my panelists for giving vital inputs. But let us agree to something that nobody should disagree with. That the people of this land, and especially people who get out of their homes, give time and devote time to people's issues, and at a great risk to their their careers, their family life, and they sacrifice a lot to do what they are doing. Even a simple act of drafting a petition, going to court, spending time on the roads, meeting the press, doing all that, it's actually a full-time job. You can't just do this unless there's something called great passion. And I think this act of theirs and this lifestyle of theirs for the people needs certain amount of respect from the powers that be. Because the point here is that in a land where opposition is increasingly becoming a non-entity, the only positive deterrent in democracy is the people, and a vibrant and responsible media. These are the only two deterrents to high-handedness of any system. It is not about any party, but about any system. Now, these checks and balances are ingrained in our democracy. But when there is no credible opposition in the democracy, then other pillars of society which can act as checks and balances need to be allowed to play their part without the government feeling overtly threatened and wanting to kind of nip all kind of dissent in the bud. And when we say government, as we have said all throughout this debate, it is not about government of A color or B color or C color. Governments across different states, across the country need to understand this, that you have to make a distinction between dreaded criminals or ordinary criminals or drug dealers or land grabbers and murderers and so on and so forth, and activists who are all they are doing is getting out of their homes and getting out of their comfort zones and fighting for the people and fighting for justice for the land and its people. And I think that is, if that distinction is followed, then these kind of discussions need not even come about, because we will not have a Hanuman Parab, you will not have a Abhijit Prabhudesai, you will not have a Olenso Simoj, you will not have a Orville Durand-Rodriguez and so many others. These are the names that come up a lot. That's why we are talking about these names. But we are not taking the names of these 40 women in Meloli or the farmers of Pisurre. There can be so many of these people who are unheard of and who probably don't come into the line.
The unsung heroes.
Unsung heroes who are suffering on a daily basis
suffering
with the tag of a criminal or a criminal case stamp on their on their lives, as it were. So on this note, I'll on this very, very somber note, let's conclude this. I thank all our panelists for giving their points of view. And Preman Bab, also thank you for giving your time, and I hope some of these sentiments is absorbed and taken back by you, so that we all work together to make Goa a better place. Thank you.